he's one of the founders of this company. He started off in telecommunication and he moved on to Sony, and he was in really important positions there. And he developed a lot of the Sony products alongside in his career. But also, he wrote a book called Kindergarten is Too Late. I'm not sure how good your Japanese is, but it says kindergarten is too late. He comes to the assumption that children suck up information like a sponge, and you cannot overfill a child. A child will just shut down when it's done, when there's too much information. Hence, you can just prepare information for a child at all times in every situation. And he writes quite aggressively that if you're older than 6 years, the opportunity of becoming a well-rounded, intelligent adult is basically gone, which maybe is a bit extreme, but at least science shows that actually these first few years are really, really important. So this is one of my favorite slides. It's drawn up by an American linguist named Patricia Kuhl. So basically what you do is you look at the horizontal age, you look at your age, and then you look at the vertical. What's your capability of learning a language? So you see that the first few years from native to 7 is crucial, where you have the biggest chances of learning a new language. And I think everyone here in the room knows when you start to learn a new language at our age, it's much more difficult. Whereas little children, I mean, especially like in India, where you see children are growing up bilingual or trilingual because of their mother tongue and English, for them it's just natural to learn these languages. Something I try to emphasize usually, that often you go around and people think, okay, if a child is born in India, it is meant to speak its mother tongue, but no child is meant to speak any language. I mean, when it's born and you take this child to Italy, right after birth, it will speak fluent Italian when it's 10 years old, but not a word of English or not a word of any other language. So there's no pre-installed language in a child. So children always have to build the language knowledge themselves. So the early time is great because they have a great capability of learning, and they have a wonderful way of sorting out the information for themselves. Not sure if this is proof, but the physical growth of the brain shows you how quickly the brain is growing, and that basically by the age of 6, your brain is fully grown. Which doesn't mean it's not the same growth, the emotional growth of the brain, which is probably stretched out until you're about 18 or 20. But it does show that very early on, the capability of children is super high. So we're looking at all these facts, and so we know that, and then obviously the question is what is the economic factor on this? And one of the most interesting things to me is a guy called Jack Hackman, who later on went on to win the Nobel Prize for Economics, and he set up the study, and he says that for every dollar a society invests in early education pre-6 years old, society gets a return of $8 in benefit. I think anyone who's investing money knows that 1 to 8 is a nice thing to have. It's basically based on a study by have you ever heard about the Perry Preschool project? It's a project that the Americans are running for preschools since about 45 years by now, so they're 50 years now, and they found out that early education is actually giving you a real head start to broader understanding of things, to especially a love for learning. So Mr. Hackman suggests governments and people should invest into the early education a lot more, into the early school years, and a lot less into the actual later education. Today, so government governments are investing a lot of money in universities, a lot of money, and I mean companies are investing a lot of money in their human capital. They almost have nothing. They're very low budgets. Like as a parent, you would probably be willing to spend a few $1,000s on a high school and university education, but most parents are not willing to spend a lot of money on these very early years. At least science, both in terms of learning potential as well as economic science, proves this wrong. Probably the best is just keep investing in your child, and at any age, there's always a great learning potential. So what we've done is we've tried to be thinking about what can we do to teach children who cannot read, who cannot write yet, who may not have a lot of materials around them, who may not have a lot of exposure to a foreign language because they live in a single language country like France or Japan, or children who live in bilingual countries like India or Singapore, or many, many examples. So at the end, the only way children are learning is by listening, and this way we call it the natural way, and they are learning by so-called contextualization, which means they hear what they see. So when you pick up a child when it's very young, usually, I mean, all over the world we figured out, you pick up your child, you point to your nose and you say nose. And hence the child hears the sound, sees the object, and puts it together. Would you do the same thing and you would point at your nose and you would call it foot? Child with 3 years old would call you, my foot is running, when it has a cold. So this contextualization is the basis of language learning for young children. Hence, we've used this and we've turned this into videos initially, and songs and things to go along with. And then a few years back, we got to this point where we said, okay, how can we match this between physical products that are hands-on play for children and digital technology? So basically, we strive to deliver a solid product. Parents want the best for their kids, and kids are eager to learn, but they are also very fun-driven. They don't want to have textbooks. So basically, this is what it all burns down to for us. Children enjoy their screen time. Scientifically proven need for hands-on play. English should come without teaching, without active teaching. It should just come naturally. And, and children have a great curiosity. So what it panned out for us is, why not use augmented reality to help children learn English, so satisfy their interest in digital, and at the very same time give them physical products to play with, so they can learn their hand-eye coordination, motor skills, cutting, drawing. All this is still very important for a young child to learn. So if you had downloaded, or if you will download our app, you will see this is sort of our base thing. Our camera is pointing at an object, and the object triggers in augmented reality within the app something, be it a word, a video, a song, something that the child enjoys and that the child doesn't feel like it's learning. Our basic ecosystem, how we're selling this product and how we've set it up is, so you're coming basically from where we're marketing and the product in social media and in retail spaces, and we send our interested parties to our online shop and give them a purchase offer, or like I do now, we first send them to our app to experience the product. From experience the product, or you can actually, on many of our ads, we're testing social lead ads. So we're basically collecting the email address and we're promising a free app to test. I feel we are living in an environment where we always want to know what we buy, and we want to test it before. I want to test drive a car before I buy it. I want to see how how something works before I actually purchase it. So we're trying to give a nice customer experience, both in our challenges that we're selling to parents, but the children must like it. And I think that's a marketing challenge that's probably not the biggest part of our talk here, but for us it's very interesting because parents' expectation of a product is a bit different than probably what children enjoy. Children enjoy play, children enjoy hanging out, children enjoy watching TV. Today children watch YouTube and all of these things. Parents don't think that any of that is useful. They think you sit down and you learn all these words like a vocabulary slide because this is how most parents have been brought up. They know that language learning is making a big effort and sitting there having long lists of vocabulary. Now this is changing obviously with a younger generation of parents, but it's still in the back of your mind because you've gone to school and in school you had to learn a language that very specific way. So our challenge is how to persuade parents that we're actually giving something to the children that works for the kids and at the same time satisfying the playful need to the children. So we're giving this customer experience. Once a customer comes in, and I still warn you before you do this, we obviously ask within our apps for a registration. So once you register, we send you emails from our email server, which are pointed to your experience with the product. There are no newsletters. You don't get new product or anything. You basically get service and information about how to use the product. How can you make the most of what you have? Additionally, obviously, we're using this for marketing purposes to basically send people back to our online shop and say, okay, now that you know how you use the product, I mean, if you have more product, you obviously learn more words. Our product overall offers about close to 1,000 words that a child can learn. Average American is using, I think, 2,300 words in his vocabulary, so you're half American already. I'm not sure if this is desirable, but just to give you an idea, I mean, 1,000 words are enough to get through a day-to-day routine, especially for a child. And then obviously our online shop is matching email addresses with all our products, with all our parts. So it tells our newsletter system if you've purchased something. So should you purchase something different, you will get different emails because obviously you have a different product experience. It tells our Treasure Box app, which is the one that we're suggesting you to download, that you own a product. So hence all the digital parts of that product will automatically be sent to that app. So, and obviously then our online shop is going to be shipping physically to the customer. That probably won't change in the next 100 years. But the digital is coming straight to the app. So you don't have to, I mean, one challenge for us has been for a long time that if we sell a song and a video and other digital parts, they will be all over your device. And for a 3-year-old child sitting in the back of the car wanting to learn something, or you as a parent want to entertain your child, it's a drag to give me back the phone, let me put you on this song, and let me navigate you to the videos. So now everything is in one app and your whole Ben and Bella content is there. You can send your children there. They can freely play around in this app. There will be nothing else than our edutainment content. So basically, next thing is I'd like to present you, or Hitesh will present you how our app functions and how it works and what it's actually capable of doing.
Hello everyone, good morning. So, just to add before I start the app, it's to work on a product range is the concern of a parent. A parent is so concerned, my child is spending so much time on digital, watching television. The research have shown, and obviously publisher like or our publishing industry has, that at that age group, if you don't do physical things, building blocks, hand-eye coordination is not developed. Your Your finger muscles are not developed because you're not able to, for a child, I'm saying of an age group 3 to 6, you know, the finger muscles are not developed. So it's a big challenge to say, but on the other side, the kid doesn't care of all of that. He wants fun, he wants entertainment, he wants gratification, something that is moving, like multimedia, animation, stories, and all of that. Now that's like the whole two opposite ends of the spectrum. A publisher saying, my physical book, there's science which says the kid needs to be read a story book at night, he needs to do physical things. A digital side of the kid says, I want just fun. So how do we address this whole thing? You know, Sebastian just showed you the ecosystem of how we worked around the whole piece. But at the essence, it's about addressing the different stakeholders in this whole ecosystem. The publishing or the content driver and the research around it, the parent and the kid. So we came up with this whole idea of using technology for entertainment and education, but in a very, very fun way. And we use a technology which is like surprisingly not used for the age group that we are talking of. So we used augmented reality for an age group of 3 to 6 to teach English. And the whole basis of this whole technology and the whole ecosystem that we've created around sits on this principle that a typical child has thousands of questions every day. A typical mom would know, you know, the child asks, what is this? Who have downloaded the app. It's a very simple app because the target group is the kid 3 to 6. So we made it a very, very simple app. Yes, information with the app. It's a freemium world. With the app we give out a free coloring template. Again, the whole hand-eye coordination. Children love to color. Most children would love to color. So you could just download I'll use the email address. And these coloring templates come to you. Tractor. Just increase the volume. Parrot. Storybooks or video or flashcards or again more storybooks or sticker books. So a typical sticker. And the whole experience is around dress, jam. Have been tuned depending on different target groups. So the shop is a target group which is a parent. The treasure box app which we have is the target group is the kid. So the whole UI UX design has been created around that experience. You want to talk about the shopping guide?
Oh. So obviously, as we have a lot of different products, we have videos, we have music. We have music videos where children are doing and choreographies, how words are. It's always the same. I mean, children are mimicking the words. So basically, we have a song where the children would learn a dance and would sing belly and would taste different media, which are basically applying to different types of children. We've put an overlay on our shop, which we call it a shopping guide, a very simple guide, where the parents are being asked, do you actually need help or do you know already what you want? And if you say yes, you want help, then you're being asked what type of child, what type of learner is your child. So in our case, we're looking at visual learners, auditory learners, or hands-on learners. So parents can choose multiple or one, and they can continue. And then we're asking the parent the third question, which is which type of theme would apply best, or what do you think does your child like best? So you're choosing one or two themes, and you go to continue, and then the system suggests you possible products. So here we found 2 products that would suit your child, and now you can either, obviously parents can reset and say, oh, I want more products as a choice, or I want less, or you just continue and you see these 2 products in the shop. The faster your connection, the easier your access is. You parents are giving to the probably common knowledge. It's really difficult to continue when you're flipping these things here.
Sorry, you don't look here. Look at
If it's British or American English, we really don't care so much. There's about 50 million British people, and there's about 250 million Americans. But there's about 1 billion people speaking English in the world, and most of them speak neither British nor American English. And I personally feel English is about communication between people, and it's not about accents. But it's important, I think you're realizing this everywhere you're going. I mean, I remember one of my favorite nights was in Thailand one day, and I had a very nice gentleman sitting next to me who was talking to me all evening. And I was wondering why he's talking to me, because he should know that I'm not talking any Thai. And after a few beers, I started to listen more carefully, and probably I was more relaxed as well. And I realized that he was actually speaking English all the time, but he had a very, very, very heavy accent. And he was speaking good English, and he was actually making sense. At least the more beer I drank, it made more sense to me. So at the end, I've learned that evening that also being able not only to speak the language, but also to express the language towards others is an important fact. And the earlier children are learning from native speakers, the better their accent will be. I'm not sure how you experienced this. My experience was we were sending our son to a bilingual preschool, and suddenly there was an Australian girl as a teacher there. So when he came home and he talked to us, we felt really odd because he was using all these Australian kind of words and this accent, and we're like, how come sticker books much earlier in the publishing for us? We were sitting together and we were talking about, but how is a sticker book helpful? Color something, and they could listen to our songs, and they could even have ebooks where they click on the text and it's being read to them. So we had all this, but also obviously aim at upselling the product to the parents. Again, in short, the point of sale, this is our customer journey. From the point of sale, products are sold to the customer. Customer ideally downloads the app to get his extra features, which are all digital. Registration in the app means customer gets information from us through the newsletter system, and the newsletter system will ultimately, hopefully, help the customer to decide buy more product. Or, if you want to phrase it in a more educational way, help the customer decide to provide more education for their kid. Obviously, the point of sale, depending on what type of point of sale, could also direct directly to the online shop, because at the point of sale I can only buy physical, whereas in the online shop I have a vast offer of digital products, so very much like you can buy an iTunes. And enhancing the child's curiosity in learning English, not only by listening to it or watching something, but by also playing hands-on with it.
We use a lot of data analytics as well. So like Sebastian said, we capture a lot of data analytics to give back the parent a detailed report. Your child has learned these things, these words, like he said, where we then test it and validate our data analytics result with a certificate. And then the tests are simple tests, but yet they are again grounded on science, and they obviously determine and prove that the whole system is working. I'd just like to show, I haven't been able to show some of our content. So here's a song.
And whenever you find illustrations, be it in an ad of ours or something, you can just scan. You have 20 scans for free, and you can stream the videos and everything. And again, we want to give the customer a solid experience before deciding on purchasing or not purchasing something.
Sort of rolled out in 52 different countries. Just wanted to understand some of the challenges in implementing this product.
I think it's very international, that it doesn't really apply too much to a certain country at this point. Obviously, we're very interested in especially becoming more digital. We are learning is highly advanced in digital things, devices early. Most of Southeast Asia, 2% of the kindergartens in Germany have on. It's quite interesting to learn how different the setup is internationally. So we're learning a lot about this at an early point. We find that Asian, South Latin American countries are way more open to the Northern European countries that teach English very, very well early on.
I hope it plays this.
I just keep talking while it's not playing.
Yeah, there's no. Yes.
Worst case,
It's a treasure box. We have a lot of content that's all hidden, and we expect that the child would go around, figure a song, a story, some a video, some a word, and that's the whole experience that we're trying to create, a treasure. Plus, we also have these special content, like this Indian song, we have a Christmas carol, we have a Philippine song, context-specific songs or festival-specific song. So during a festival, the whole newsletter management system would send out a parent in that country, hey, you know what, just download this coloring template, get it colored and get it scanned from your kid. And when the kid scans it, it would trigger the gratification of, again, another kind of a learning, but it could be context-specific, country-specific, or something like that. Yeah?
yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Anything else? If anybody has questions or...
The B2C product, since we offered it, we are offering a lot of starting points of talking to the parents. In the EU, the parents are triggering the children to at least point out things and saying the words. That's the one part. In our actual teaching product, it's all about articulation. The only aim in this product is to get the children to speak to each other. So here we are triggering sentences. I mean, it starts very simple that my name is Sebastian, what is your name? And that goes around in the group. And so, for example, we have like 400 something flashcards in that box. None of the flashcards ever used in a way that you would hold it up and say some. They are always used in games. So be it a game where, like a memory game where we flip them over and the children have to find them. And all these games can be performed as team games. And the teacher is basically like a show host here. The teacher sets up the stage and says, this is the game you play. And initially the children are supposed to always say, let's say you're looking at a memory game, you have, let's say, just imagine these are two of the same. So you turn them over and try to find the same thing. So all the children always have to say the word that they see. And obviously we're trying to start easy like this, and the more words they learn, well, just doesn't have that. He just makes all these mistakes. But he advances much faster. In our teaching product, we are very, very much focusing on children articulating the words, speaking, and speaking to each other, basically. Whereas in our B2C product, obviously, it's mostly about hearing at this point. Again, with all these arts and crafts things that you can get through our downloads, and through the emails where we tell parents to say the words. I mean, initially, depends on the age of the child, but 2 or 3-year-old, he will just mumble what he's hearing. He'll just try to mimic the sound, like he does when he's born, right? He listens to his mother, and it's not like on the second day he's born, he'll come out and say, Mommy, I would like to have some biryani rice. He'll just listen to it for a while, and then rice will be maybe something very odd initially, and it'll develop into the word rice. And that's the same here, so they will be collaborative effort to learn a language anyway. But especially our songs, which we're quite happy. We have two different ones. I mean, especially so we have a karaoke which we've used mostly for. That's already that's the same basically as it is in the Better Box. It's sort of the same content. The slight difference is in the karaoke. You can film yourself, you can sing yourself. Also, we make a difference between the entertainment part and the capturing content part.
It's going to lead users to the Games app because for the Games app is fun. They don't really any kind of understanding and
products you have in one app itself, the person would directly want to test the others.
So those two are D2C primarily, the Games app is this, and the Treasure Box app is more like a whole ecosystem connecting the